monthly column for almost a year, where an editor from Prevention had been reading my blog, and she saw a post, and she said, "Can you just do that for our magazine and then do it again every month, basically, and we'll pay you $3,000 a month." Or, you know, you can, I mean, it was a very short thing. It was a great gig, and it was a totally unsolicited, just somebody reading my blog. So that does happen.
The last pitch I actually had accepted was also to Times, and it was about 2 lines saying, "I've written these blog posts on the memory of the fear, on fear memories, and I think the story could take this form. Link, 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 link. What do you think?" And that got accepted, and I think
absolutely,
that's quite interesting to me, that the blog post itself was sort of part of the pitch.
Yeah, definitely, and it does. And editors, what's interesting is editors now, I think, more and more like to see blog posts, because I'm sure, you know, the people in here who work as editors, you know, you get clips from someone, published clips from someone, and it shows that they can have their byline on something.
Yeah. It shows that they can get edited.
Yeah. So, and there are many times when, you know, as an editor, when I was at Popular Science, I assigned things to people based on published clips, and then got their writing in unedited, and it was very clear they had not written those clips. So editors love blogs because they can see what you're doing before you're being edited.
You better clean up your blog.
So right, exactly. So there's an element to that that can backfire, right? So if you're out, you know, if you're treating it as a sort of magazine that you're self-publishing, it is, I think, really important. I talk to my students about that all the time. It's like, take your blog seriously. You know, you don't have to be really obsessive about every post, but know that an editor could be reading them or may someday be reading them, and that if you end up trying to break in at a certain publication, they'll probably Google you, and that's like something my dad would say. They'll blog you, and then they'll find you, and they'll read some of your old posts, right? Which can backfire in a lot of ways in terms of the I was out partying, and you know, there's that whole thing that students end up getting into trouble with. But for just using your blog as a professional tool, yeah, it's good to keep in mind that you want to put something on there that you would want editors to read. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. Do you have anything you want to just? Do you have like a spiel?
A spiel?
Yeah. This is what you do.
30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I gave him no time to prepare for this whatsoever. I just said, you're coming and you're going to be on this.
Well, I mean, I straddle both television and the magazine at Geographic to some extent. And, I mean, I think what you were...
A bunch of people came in, maybe you should say who you are.
Oh, he's Cliff Wein.
I do story development at National Geographic. So I kind of see both sides. And I end up actually helping a lot of friends frame their pitches. So... I mean, it's important what Rebecca was saying earlier about, you know, it's not so much the idea at the beginning, but knowing that you can do the thing. I mean, that applies for television as well as writing too. I mean, there's so many stories that are just percolating, and like, I mean, it's hard initially. Like, let's say you're a producer, writer, and you want to do a film at Geographic. It's like, it's really hard to get in initially. I mean, it just is. But once you're in, it's like, then you go, okay, I know this. We want to do this story about Nazca lines, and we know this guy's done this other story. We know he knows how to go down and shoot the story. We know he knows how to write the story. And so once you're in, it becomes a lot easier thing to do. And it's like, it's not about your specific. I mean, I think all I would say, you don't hold one idea too tightly when you're trying to pitch either an article or. I mean, have a broad range of stuff you're interested in, but also know how to tell the story really well too. And yeah, beyond just like the topic or the anecdote. I mean, you know, let's say you go beyond just like science, like, okay, like stem cells, but you're like, oh, there's this cool story, this is from a specific person I know, about Native Americans at Harvard, you know, in 1655. Well, okay, that's kind of cool, and nobody knows that Harvard's original charter actually was for Native Americans and for British colonists. But how do you make a story about that? Well, you have to figure out, and this guy now has a book contract, but I had to help him shape this story. It was like, you think of like clever ways to frame it, like Hogwarts meets Harvard, okay? You know, it's like, because you have this whole magical worldview. You can't use that in the marketing, but it's what it is. You've got this magical worldview meets another magical worldview, which happens in Christianity, but this other one has like, you know, shapeshifters and all this sort of stuff. You have a guy who dies right before graduation, who's Native American. And what I'm saying, I'm not telling you the whole story, but you have to find a narrative in there beyond just, oh, it's cool Native Americans happen to be there. I mean, that's just like a trivia question. So think about how you're going to do a story arc like you would do a novel, basically. I mean, that's what we're looking for at Geographic all the time, too, no matter how specific the stuff is.
And I'm sorry, apologize for asking such a technical question, if you back up. So you're interested in sending something in, you go to the website, you send it to the editor,
Right.
what do you title it,
This is
what does it look like?
Yeah, this is I bet you all of us will probably give, all of us will probably give slightly different answers maybe, but my answer to that is, you want to avoid doing that at all. To avoid blind pitching in any way that you can. Go to conferences, talk to editors, get their cards, so that you can then, even if it's 2-3 years down the road, when you're ready to pitch somebody, say, hey, I met you at this and that conference. And so even if you have just that little of a connection with somebody, it's so important. And this is where Twitter and Facebook and blogging is so great, because the number of science editors that you can now just go and become friends with online, and then they'll know your name, and just breaking through that door of having an actual person to pitch is so important. Because the floodgates, Ivan, you can probably talk about this, the number of pitches that people get is just, sorry, so
yeah, no, I mean, I think that's really important to get to know people. I teach at NYU, and this is actually sort of one of the classes I spent some time on talking about pitching. It's really important. It's really not helpful to me, I think. It's just, you'll end up being frustrated more than not if you're blind pitching. Even if you can figure out who the right person is, which, by the way, I haven't seen a website that actually does that well. I mean, even like the most technical great websites, magazine-wise, don't do that well. Even if you can do that, it's still going to go into my inbox with, God, I literally, actually, Thursday afternoon, as I was sort of leaving, I realized that my inbox is probably going to sort of start rejecting messages, because even though I keep archiving, I've actually now exceeded my archive limit, which is like 300 gigabytes. The amount of crap that it lands in my inbox every day, and it's not that you're also crap, it's that there's just a lot of crap for me to say.
and
that's true.
So get to know people. I mean, none of us are that hard to find, and this will sort of get me into as much hot water as other things I've probably said today with my colleagues, not so much with sort of the general population here. Like, if you can't find a way to sort of get to friend or argue with on Twitter, which is what people usually do with me, or whatever else, Facebook, whatever it is, I don't know, that editor is probably, stuck in a certain time period that's before 2010, and I don't know, I think there's just a lot more of us out there who probably could be more receptive and responsive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that you're up against this big flood of stuff in everyone's inboxes is, it is part of why you should go out and, get to know people and network in a sense, but also, why it's really important to be able to sort of write something that's going to catch their eyes when they do open your email, right? So you meet, someone at a conference or whatever, you send them a pitch, being pretty clear on what it is that you're pitching, and having a clear, being able to show them in the first paragraph that, you're professional, you know what you're doing. You can put some sentences together, you have a story idea, or at least understand what one is. That'll help you not just get deleted immediately with all the other,
And again, I apologize for walking in. Did you talk about just having read whatever publication?
No, not yet. Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna. Go for it.
So I'll be the bad guy here, but like, please read and at this point I'm at Reuters. I mean, a year ago I was doing the same sort of thing with Scientific American. Please read my publication before you pitch me, and not just sort of, I found one and I found 3 stories online. Like, I don't expect you to know our archive, but at least do a keyword search for the thing you're writing about. I'm actually really impressed, even if I say no a lot. I like to say no. It's the only thing that justifies my existence some days. But I say no a lot to pitches that are really smart, that actually say things like, I see you covered this, and I'd like to do this because I think it's really different and new and interesting. I will respond to that pitch. I will probably say no because of the way that we kind of have to budget and what have you. But I will go out of my way to find a next assignment for that person, and one that came upon me because people are emailing me crap all day long, and I'll send to that person. I will try to know.
That comes back to we were talking about pitches as calling cards, that you're pitching yourself as a professional. And I think it's important to remember that editors are just like you. I mean, they're somebody who, what editors really want is to start a relationship with a writer.
We're demons and devils, according to Henry.
That's true. I saw that on the, But, they want writers that they can sort of depend on for stories, and that are going to understand what they're going through on the other side. So, when you pitch something to an editor and then you follow up with them a few days later saying, So, did you hear? Unless it's a breaking story that you